Hey everyone, how you doing? This is Amon Green, Green Bay Packers all-time leading rusher, and you're watching Packers Total Access Live, your daily source for Packer content. Go Pack, go!
What's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_access. Just got finished with a live stream breaking down three of the most underrated players on the Packers roster, both on offense and defense. And boy, as soon as we ended the stream, what happened? Breaking news. This is great news. Let's just jump into it. Let's waste no time here. Easton Butler tweeted out the Packers opened wide receiver Jaden Reed's 21-day window to return from a must-needed return. I know we've all been waiting for this, and there's a portion of the fan base that maybe they don't see Jaden Reed as valuable as some of us on the other side do. I feel like Jaden Reed is a spark plug in this offense, man. I think he's a player that is very, very underrated across the National Football League. We'll talk about some of those stats here in just a second. I want to get into another tweet, and again, shout out to Easton Butler mentioning that information there. And we've got pretty much confirmation across Packers Twitter. Shout out to Bill Huber, who put out this tweet just a few minutes ago, actually 52 minutes ago now. Jaden Reed's 21-day return window to play has been open. No Quay Walker, Nate Hobbs, Savion Williams, or Carl Brooks for the start of the practice. You see Jaden here running a little half sprint, I guess you could say, with Malik Heath, a little bending, a little flexing. Obviously, he had, if you guys need a kind of a refresher, I guess you could say, he had surgery on the foot for the Jones fracture, right? That was confirmed, I believe, by Jason Wilde through Jaden Reed's camp that he had a Jones fracture. I know there were some people that seemed to still not believe it, but Wilde had the report on that. Came right from the horse's mouth, obviously. And then, of course, he broke his collarbone, so they just went ahead and surgically repaired both of them. So, I mean, we'll see how he looks when he does get back on the field. This doesn't mean he's playing Sunday. Obviously, they opened that practice window. Kind of feels like how they did LVN there. What was it, last week, the week before? I think what they'll probably do is open up the window here, let him practice this week. Maybe we won't see him on Sunday and get him ready for Thursday night, Thanksgiving, or Thursday, I should say, during the day, Thanksgiving, that early, what was it, 12 Central kickoff against the Detroit Lions. So really, really excited to see Jaden Reed back on the practice field. If you can get him back for Thanksgiving, that was the original target day. That could be huge for this Packers offense, who started to put it together last week against the Giants. Had a two or three game rough spell, actually a 2-game spell, I believe it was, losing 2 in a row. The offense really sputtered against Philly, and now you're getting one of your spark plugs back. Now, for those who are wondering or trying to remember, okay, how effective was Jaden Reed? Guys, since he came in the league, he's been a solid football player. If you look at PFF here, this is his rookie year in 2023. He graded out as the 11th best player on the Packers offense with a 73.3, but more importantly, 645 offensive snaps that season. Had a receiving grade, or a passing grade, I guess you could say, passing game grade of 74.4. Jaden Reed, we talk about it all the time. If you come in the league and you grade out in the 60s or higher, it's typically a pretty good indicator that you're going to be a good football player in the National Football League. Now, listen, there's some players that take a step back. You see that all the time. There's others that, like Carrington Ballantyne, we broke down on the earlier show this morning, came in, graded out in the 50s, jumped into the 60s his second year, and now he's up in the 70s and grading out as a top 5 corner. Whether you believe he's a top 5 corner or not, I'll leave that up to you guys and gals. But Jaden Reed coming in the league, you grade out a 73 your rookie year. All right, pretty good indicator you're going to be a hell of a football player, right? Let's go on to 2024. Last year, where did he grade out? 71.7. So you see it completely stabilized. One of the most consistent players on the Packers roster. Last year, 719 snaps, 71.7 PFF grade with a 71.6 passing game grade there. So again, he was the 6th highest graded player in terms of the Green Bay Packers last year. Really, really excited to see him get back. Let's go to 2025. Again, minimal snaps, only 23 snaps, 89.9. Started off the season strong. You hated to see him break that collarbone. I think it was against Washington, if I remember correctly. But I'm expecting him to probably be significantly lower than this 89. but I wouldn't be surprised if you see him to the mid to upper 70s right off the bat once he gets back on the field. I think that's something that when you get the collarbone repaired like that, and I don't know all the details, most of the time they'll put pins and stuff like that in, you come back strong as ever. You don't have to worry about, okay, is that thing weak now? If you land the same way, you're probably going to break it regardless, right? Whether it's screws, pins, whatever that's holding it together. But yeah, I don't think he's going to come back skittish at all. I think he'll be even healthier than he was before he broke the collarbone, where he was dealing with the Jones fracture. So I think it's going to be something where he comes back strong as ever. Now let's cross-check those PFF grades and jump into NFL Pro real quick and talk about the statistics. I put a tweet out the other day talking about how Jordan Love hasn't even had his number one receiver, his number one tight end, and people were like, what do you mean Christian Watson's the number one receiver? I love Christian Watson. I think Christian Watson is a hell of a football player. I think he's got everything it takes to be a number one receiver. I see a number one receiver two different ways, right? Statistically speaking, who is your leading receiver? Who's leading in yardage? Who's leading in yards per catch? Things like that. Some of the advanced metrics like receiving EPA, things like that. That's how I truly determine, okay, who is the number one receiver on that team? Now, a number one receiver, in my opinion, think in the past of players like Terrell Owens, right? Think of people like Randy Moss. With the Green Bay Packers, think of Jordy Nelson. There was a time when Jordy Nelson was causing bracket coverage. What I mean by that is when a defense comes out, okay, that's a Tuesday player. What we've got to take extra time on Tuesday's meetings to formulate a game plan to really harness what they can do with that receiver. And most of the time that's bracket coverage, or if you play a lot of man coverage, we want our number one corner to play man coverage on him and still bracket him. If it was the Bill Belichick coaching style, you're maybe running bullseye, where what Bill would do is Coach Belichick would take his number one corner, put it on the number two receiver, and then whoever the team's number one receiver was, he would put the second and third, or he would actually double cover them, typically with a safety in a corner. So you got your second best corner on the number one receiver with double coverage help, and you put your number one corner on the number two, and it really would throw offenses in flux. So I don't think Jaden Reed is that type of number one receiver. But the stats are the stats. The production is the production. Since the day he came in the league, his rookie year, he led the Packers with 793 receiving yards and 8 touchdowns. Now, if this will load up for us, let's jump ahead to 2024. Last year, guess who led the Packers in receiving yards? 857 receiving yards. Jaden Reed was your leading receiver again. This is the guy that has made Matt LaFleur's offense go. And it's why when people were criticizing Matt, when people were criticizing Jordan, I'm going, the hell are we talking about? You're without your top pass catching target of how this offense is created, how it's formed. So who has had to fill in that role this year? It's been a multitude of guys, but it's mainly been Matthew Golden they've had to put in the F. Well, you got a rookie receiver trying to learn the choice routes in the F position. Then you're missing Christian Watson early on, so he had to really play a lot of Z. You've seen Romeo flexing into the F a couple of times, and then you would see Matthew Golden going out to X. They were trying to mix his match as much as they possibly could. That's why I felt like they were pressing into 12 and sometimes 13 personnel with that Y70 look we talk about with Kennard playing the extra tight end. You've had to kind of press into that because you've been missing players like Jaden Reed. So you'll probably get one more week of having to do that, and then you get your top pass catcher back, and I'm really, really excited about it. Let's talk about his contract real quick. I know this is something we haven't talked about a lot with Jaden Reed coming off the injury. He is in the third year of his deal. This is over on Spot Track. You guys can go check this out and cross-check it yourself. But $1.9 million against the cap this year. Okay, next year he's under contract again, $2.2 million against the cap. He was I believe, what was he, a second-round pick? That's right, second-round pick, 50th overall in 2023. So there's not a fifth-year option aspect to his contract. So you got to get a good look at him this year and decide going into next year, do we want to extend him? I've been very vocal saying that I felt like the way the wide receiver room should lay out, if Jaden Reed comes back and he's healthy as ever, right? He's the same Jaden Reed he was. I feel like you can pay 2 receivers contract extensions. You've already got Christian Watson on a mini contract extension. However, I would want Christian Watson and Jaden Reed to be the 2 receivers I pay. And then as you get on down the line 3 years from now and Matthew Golden's up for a contract, you'll have a true evaluation on him. All right, what do we want to do with Matthew Golden moving forward? Is he the guy? All right, cool. Now you got to make a decision with Jaden Reed and Christian Watson. But paying 2 guys good money, I'm not talking top 3 wide receiver money. And listen, the way Christian Watson's playing, you may have to do that on down the line. Right now, don't worry about a problem you don't have. But if you pay 2 receivers, you're going to have a decision to make when Matthew Golden's contract comes up, because you damn sure want to pay Tucker Kraft once he proves he's good to go after the ACL next year. So there's a lot of things that come into play there. Just wanted to lay out the contract situation. He'll be 26 years old next year too, he being Jaden Reed. So that's the update on Jaden Reed. Like I said, really excited to get him back in the fold in Green Bay. A couple of other quick little updates we'll jump into. Rob Demovsky tweeted this out. Packers coach Matt LaFleur said Josh Jacobs will be limited again today, and they will see what he can do. Quote, it's a collective decision always, LaFleur said, on whether he plays Sunday. Also sounded optimistic Lucas Van Ness could finally return from his foot injury and play. So there's a decent chance you'll have Josh Jacobs back. You'll have Lucas Van Ness back. Possibly Jaden Reed, although I think it'll be next week before we see him. It'll be on Thanksgiving. So you're seeing some of these key players start to get healthier for the Packers. Obviously, Josh Jacobs just missing that, 3/4 of the game, half of the game, whatever you want to call it there, against the New York Giants. But getting LVN back so you can put him in that 3 tech in what we call the nickel 4-2-5 cheetah package, so he can play that extra down lineman in those pass rush situations. You can get those 3 pass rushers on the field, Rashawn Gary, MICAH Parsons, and Lucas Van Ness all on the field at the same time. Something that went unnoticed last week, and we talked about it a lot on Chalk Talk, was Enigbari getting an inflated snap count. I think it was more about the specific game plan that they wanted to run, because what we noticed on the tape when we were breaking it down on Chalk Talk is what we call 55 drop. When you run a fire zone blitz and you drop a defensive lineman into coverage, we always just tag it 55 drop, 54 drop, 52 drop. The player's number and drop, meaning they're showing a pass rush like they normally do at the defensive line position, but they're actually dropping into coverage in a zone drop while someone else fires. Like you've seen specifically, we fired Javon Bullard on a nickel blitz, and it was 55 drop. So we fired off of the nickel side, Javon Bullard on an outside blitz, while we dropped 55 Kingsley Enigbari into coverage. Therefore, you still only had a 4 or a 5-man rush, and you still got, anywhere from 6 to 7 guys in coverage, right? I felt like that was the game plan geared around Enigbari getting those extra snaps last week, trying to confuse Jameis Winston, and it worked. There were several times we had an opportunity to pick the pass off. We just didn't capitalize on that. So with that being said, you bring Lucas Van Ness back. I think you're going to get back to the Rashawn Gary, Lucas Van Ness, MICAH Parsons show with a heavy rotation of Kingsley Enigbari and, of course, Brenton Cox Jr., those guys, when they do get back and get healthier. You'll still continue to see Baron Sorrell. But the point is, all of those guys we mentioned, Lucas Van Ness is an upgrade over them, and we've seen it already in this young season where he's grading out a 74 overall. I think he's the 5th best defender on the Packers roster according to PFF. 14.5% quarterback pressure rate. That's the best of his young career so far. He's also a hell of a run defender, and it seems like it helps unlock Gary when LVN's on the field with Gary while everybody's putting all that attention on Micah Parsons. So would love to see Lucas Van Ness suit up here for the Green Bay Packers coming up this week. And then one other mention here in the news and notes, just want to put this out here. This is about a division rival, as Dave Burkett on Twitter, on X, tweeted out, Dan Campbell confirms Lions tight end Sam Laporta had a surgery on his back. Chances of him returning this year are, quote, very, very slim. Now, we heard they put him on IR, and Detroit Lions fans were very, very optimistic. It's just going to be a 4-week IR. He'll be back. Now we're finding out he had back surgery, and Dan Campbell's kind of confirming that he's probably going to be out. I'm taking that as he's going to be out for the rest of the year. We'll see how it plays out. Now, listen, you know how we are on this channel. We love talking crap to division rival fans. They come in here in the chat and they troll us and we troll them back. That's part of it, right? I want to be very clear, man. I don't care how much I hate a rival. I don't care how much I hate an opposing team or opposing player. I say hate, obviously football-wise. You never want to wish injury on anybody. The reality is Sam Laporta is a hell of a football player, and it sucks that he's having to deal with this. And the one thing I will say, it is definitely a positive for the Packers because Sam Laporta is one heck of a tight end, man. So it kind of evens that race out. I know the Bears are technically in the lead, although all gambling sites don't even have them as second best odds to win the North. They actually have them as third best odds. Some have the Lions, others have the Packers, but they've seen the strength of schedule with the Bears and how they really haven't played anybody. They haven't got a win against a team with a winning record yet. Caleb Williams to this point has very, very few, if any, very few. I know he's got a couple of wins against teams with winning records as well. Him at quarterback with the Bears. So the Bears, we're kind of expecting them to start to sink on the stand. Now, listen, they could put it together. They've won games. You got to give them credit for that. But if they start to sink in the standings, it's kind of a two-team race between the Packers and the Lions. Again, according to Vegas, it's a huge hit for the Lions to lose Sam Laporta, just like it was a huge hit for the Packers to lose Tucker Kraft. So this kind of balances those teams out who are the betting favorites to be 1 and 2 in different orders there, obviously depending on which site you look at for the NFC North. So that's what we're looking at. That's the update on Jaden Reed. Also sounds like LVN may be back. Again, bad news for the Lions, losing Sam Laporta. So we want to hear from you guys in the comments. Let us know what you think about Jaden Reed returning. Do you think he plays this weekend? Do you think it's going to be another week? Do you think they rush him right out there and give him a full snap count load? Or do you think it's going to be something, maybe you ease him in 10 snaps the first game, 20 snaps the second game? How do you guys feel about Jaden Reed returning? What's it going to do for this offense, Jordan Love and Matt LaFleur, as they come down the stretch here? Got a tough schedule on the backside like many teams do. It's going to be a lot of fun, man, down the playoff stretch here. So it's cold weather football at Lambeau Field this weekend against the Vikings, and the Packers are getting healthy. Let us know in the comments what you think. Make sure you hit like, subscribe, and click that bell icon so you're notified when we go live here in the future like we did earlier, like we're going to do tonight, 6 p.m. Central for PTA Live. We'll be breaking down Packers versus Vikings and taking everybody's comments in the chat. So everybody have a wonderful day. My name's Clayton. This is PTA. Go Pack, go.
Here we go.
Bye, guys.